Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and some of you probably remember a couple months ago I made a video confirming tier 11s were coming into the game. Now, people try to say that my channel's clickbait all the time, but now we have official confirmation from Wargaming themselves that tier 11s have made it into the game. This is the World of Tanks official Discord, and as we can see on the official Discord, tier 11s were announced yesterday. We have pictures of the tier 11s, the Taschenratte, the Blackrock, the Hirschkäfer, and the Hacker. And yeah, this is all confirmed. We know for a fact that tier 11s are now going to be making their way into the game. And opinions definitely seem mixed. About a third of the players gave a thumbs down versus a thumbs up. To me, I definitely understand where those mixed opinions are coming in, because right now the game's already struggling to be balanced with 10 tiers. Adding an additional 11th is definitely an interesting decision. Today, I'll be letting you know my personal feelings, thoughts, and opinions on tier 11s, what they are going to do to the game, monetization, and as well my overall thoughts on whether they should or shouldn't enter Blitz. If you enjoy content like this and you want to see more in the future, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. Now, the first thing that I wanted to mention about all these tier 11s is we can clearly see that they are going to be treated just like any other tank. We can see in the pictures of all of them, they have 3 marks right on their barrels, meaning that you are going to be able to mark all of these vehicles just like you would any other tank. So they are going to be totally normal in that regard. What I don't know is if they're going to feature special mechanics. As we know, on World of Tanks PC, a lot of the tier 11s feature special mechanics that allow them to be unique. However, in our version of the game, I don't know or even think that that's going to happen, and I really don't want it to happen. I think tier 11s personally should be basically just better versions of tier 10s. I don't know how I feel about every single tier 11 having their own special ability. For example, in front of us we have the Hirschkäfer, and this is the tier 11 on the Grill 15 line. So after you get the Grill, this would be the next vehicle. And the Hirschkäfer on World of Tanks PC is actually a really cool mechanic. Basically, you can't low roll a killing shot. So let's say there's a tank with 600 health, and your average damage in this vehicle is 650. If you shoot that player, it is impossible to low roll if it penetrates. It will always kill them. That's actually a mechanic that I've been wanting in Blitz in general. I can't tell you how many times I've lost games because I will shoot at a tank that I should kill, and then my shell low rolls massively and throws the game. It's especially devastating in auto reloaders with reserve shells like the Minnow or, other vehicles in that category. But yes, the Hirschkäfer is going to be the tier 11 Grill 15 line, and I'm interested to see exactly what its capabilities are going to be. It is going to feature probably decent gun depression. We can see there's quite a large arc there it's going to be able to have. It also is going to feature a fully traversing turret and pretty decent mobility. Most likely it will hit harder than a Grill, but in general I would expect it to be pretty similar in terms of playstyle. I'm actually really excited for this. Then we have the Hacker. This is a tier 11 medium, which is going to grind from the M48 patent. It honestly has very similar capabilities to the M48 patent. As we can see, the upper plate's okay. It's about 220. However, this tank has, well, 9 degrees of gun depression. And using that gun depression, the upper plate gets pretty strong, upwards of 280 to 260. If we're loading HE, we can see that's upwards of like 300 thick effective. So it's actually got pretty good armor. And if you're angling it, you can also get quite a few bounces. But while the upper plate may not be anything amazing, well, look at that turret. The edges of the turret are 600 to 700 thick. Really, you're not penning this thing anywhere. I mean, even if we load gold, you're going to need upwards of 350 millimeters to cut through. And yes, this is World of Tanks PC, but I'm going to assume that because this grinds after the M48 patent, it is going to feature an incredibly strong turret, and that is going to be its major strength. It also features really good DPM. This is fully unequipped, so if you put all of the equipment and stats on this vehicle, this thing's going to have over 4K DPM. It's got a lot of health. Remember, it's a tier 11, so it's going to have more health than tier 10s. It's got a decent top speed, very similar to the M48 patent we have in Blitz. In general, it seems to be kind of a medium that blurs the lines between a heavy, and that's exactly what the M48 patent is. So I think it completely excels in that job, and I think that we can get a pretty similar idea to how that's going to play in Blitz. Then we have the Blackrock. Now this vehicle is rather interesting. It's black, and I don't mean to single this vehicle out because of the color, but obviously we know that American vehicles normally look like this. They've kind of got like that deserty tan, and this tank is black. And to me, that already makes me believe that this is not going to be a tech tree vehicle. I'm assuming that this is going to be a collector, and it's potentially going to cost money, but we'll have to see. Wargaming has been in talks about releasing a potential, reward vehicle that you grind and grind, kind of like the PC, mission campaigns where you can get the Object 260 or the 279E. And I really hope that they do something like that with the BlackRock, because that's how you get the vehicle in World of Tanks PC. But I guess we'll find out, because Christmas isn't all too far away, and I'm assuming that we're going to be getting these tier 11s around Christmas time. It would only make sense. So if we're getting tier 11s around Christmas time, this could very well be the Christmas tank. Oh boy, yeah, I bet a lot of you forgot that if tier 11s come into the game, tier 11s are going to be mighty expensive. Tier 10s might get cheaper, though. I don't really know. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of monetization and premiums and collectors in tier 11. I guess we'll have to see, but yeah, I'll voice my opinions more on that towards the end of the video. Either way, the BlackRock is a ridiculously insane vehicle. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of the more OP vehicles on World of Tanks PC, mainly because of the fact it's kind of like a concept. Its upper plate on flat ground is already pretty strong, over 300 thick, but when you're using the 8 degrees of gun depression, well, now it does have these little cutouts here, but in general, it is incredibly strong. And look at the turret. This is over 800 thick. Like, you're not penning it. This is what it is loading gold. It's physically impossible to pen. Even the weakest points are still 350, and that's tiny, tiny weak points. You're not going to be penning this vehicle hull down, which is why I said it's literally a concept 1B. But not only that, it also has a very interesting mechanic where it has the ability to shoot 2 shells, but it's a single shot. So yeah, it's weird. I don't think this mechanic will make its way into Blitz, so I'm not really going to divulge into it. But yeah, this thing's insane. It's literally just a tier 11 concept 1B. I mean, you can see that from the design. It's a tier 11 concept. It's really stupid, and I'm very scared to see what Wargaming does in terms of balance for this vehicle in Blitz. And that finishes us off with the Taschenratte. This is, well, quite obviously going to grind after the mouse. And hopefully, unlike the mouse, this thing actually features pretty decent armor. Let's take a look at the Taschenratte's armor on PC. I can tell you that it is incredibly well armored, and it is probably going to be one of the sturdiest tier 11s in the entire game. On flat ground, aiming perfectly on the lower plate, about 260 to 275 thick. Angled properly, that lower plate is breaching 300 millimeters thick. I mean, that is insane. The weakest point on this vehicle against heat shells is still like 370. You're not going to be cutting through the Taschenratte anywhere on the hull. However, that's not to say there aren't weak points. The turret is actually the biggest weak point. It's only about 320 here, so you'd have to like perfectly angle the turret like this to actually get it pretty strong. And that's a very steep angle, as we can see. A lot of people aren't going to realize that if you angle it too much, it's going to be very weak in certain spots. So I do think that just like the mouse, it's going to be more skill-based to use a vehicle like this. But man, look at the side armor, 200 millimeters thick. The rear is 200 millimeters thick, and because it's angled, it's actually 213. If you angle the rear of this vehicle properly at an angle like this, the back is at weakest 280, 290, and if you angle the turret properly like this, it's 280, 300, and 400. That's the back of the tank. That is insane, and it really shows just how much armor the Taschenratte is featuring. So I am quite excited to see how this vehicle is going to perform, and before you say, oh, it's really OP, it has a top speed of 18, so just keep that in mind. It's the slowest tank in PC by a long shot. Are these going to be the only tier 11s in the game? No. I'm very confident we're going to be getting probably one tier 11 per nation. I feel like that would at least make sense. We're obviously going to be getting a Soviet tier 11, most likely the KR-1, and we'll be seeing some French tier 11s and everything else. Right now, World of Tanks PC doesn't even have a whole bunch of tier 11s, right? We can see that there's only maybe 20 or so tier 11s, so don't expect there to be a whole list of tier 11s immediately dropping when they get released. We'll probably see like 7, maybe 8, enough that there will be players using them, but not enough that they're going to completely break the matchmaker. Now, something I do need to point out to you guys is that unlike World of Tanks PC, where every single tier 11 is available for free as of right now, to what I'm aware, the 0 I see is just another Taschenratte, but yeah, all the tier 11s on PC, apart from the BlackRock, and that's still obtainable for free, don't cost money. However, There are vehicles in Blitz, like the Badger, which are already a collector. And what grinds after the Badger? Well, that would be the ATFE230 Breaker. See, this is a tech tree on PC, but it's not going to be a tech tree in Blitz because the Badger already is a collector. So there's no vehicle or line that would really play like this. So because of that, most likely we are going to be seeing one of our first collector tier 11s probably be the Breaker. This thing's insane. It's got like 380 millimeters of armor all on the upper plate. You're not penning this thing, even if it's like on flat ground, let alone the fact it has 10 degrees of gun depression. And when it's using that gun depression, the upper plate's over 400 to 500 thick. Its side armor is quite reliable. It has almost no hatches. Yeah, this thing has pretty crazy armor, and that's not even mentioning it has 3,700 base DPM. Fully equipped, this thing can get almost 5,000 damage per minute. It is an insane tank, and I do feel we're going to be getting that as a collector. Either way, I just wanted to share my thoughts on the overall tier 11s. I know that a lot of you are going to be asking me, is this a good idea to come into the game? Is this a bad idea? My personal opinion is I don't have a problem with tier 11s coming into the game, but I think that Wargaming needs to properly balance the current game we have before they do that. Autoloaders are already a serious problem. We don't need tier 11s that are going to continue this problem when the tier 10s aren't already balanced. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the tier 11s. I do hope that they drop this December. I just hope that Wargaming listens to their player base before this December and properly balances these vehicles. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hopefully, Wargaming does the right thing. I am excited for these. We obviously have World of Tanks Blitz Reforged canceled, which is a real bummer, but at least getting tier 11s is going to be something that is brand new and might, change the game as we know it. Because I don't know what's going to happen to comp, I don't know what's going to happen to how monetization works, and especially, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the matchmaker. But there's only one way to find out, and that is time. So, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.